Debt. Debt is something, typically money that is owed or due. Okay. Simply put, if you owe money, you're in debt. Now, there's good debt and bad debt. A lot of people should know this, but I know they don't know this, and that is this. In real estate, for example, just for an example, I can go and borrow money from the bank, get a loan, borrow money, get a loan with interest, get a house, fix the house up real fast, flip the house, and pay back the bank and have some money for me, plus interest, and then have money for me. So the bank made money off of me, my loan, and I made money because I flipped the house and made extra more than what I was selling for and the fixing of it, cost of it. So debt is good debt, and bad debt is simply people who go buy cars and shouldn't buy a car because their finances doesn't support it, or buy a house that their finances doesn't support it, and they're in bad debt. So bad debt is buy something and let it not make you money, a car or a house that you live in. Now, you ask a question, is it a good investment? Me buying a home, being a homeowner is a good investment, since we're talking about debt and homes. The answer to that is no, not really, not in my eyes, not in my eyes. It was nice to, in theory, it's nice in theory, but not in my eyes. Now, why? You technically don't own nothing. Okay, the bank gave you money to buy the property and the land, but technically don't pay your taxes and see if how long you can keep your house, even if you paid back the loan or the debt from the bank system. And you're all clean, you own nothing, no mortgage payments, no nothing. You just have your utilities, the ups and keeps, and taxes and insurances and so on. And so my question is it a good investment if you then have a house all complete, paid for, and you still got to pay taxes on it? And if you don't pay your taxes, can you lose? Yes. Yeah, so it's, to me, it's better than, if you will, and this is an argument that I have with a lot of people. Not an argument, but personal preferences. Me personally, I rather spend my money, more money than I would with a mortgage, spend my money in an apartment complex or somewhere very nice where I don't have to cut the grass. If something breaks, they will fix it, and I can leave with a 30-day notice and go wherever I want to go. To me, that's freedom. That's a little bit more freedom. If I buy a house and I own the bank, this massive, I'm technically enslaved to the bank until I can pay it off. So therefore, not only am I enslaved to the bank, but I'm also enslaved to my job, the very thing that I have to make money off of to pay that back in order to take care of my house. Then I still got to pay money out of my pocket to fix up the house. And then I still got to do upkeeps, cut the grass, shovel the snow, and so on and so forth. And then you realize, when do I have time for me? So in context, those are the two differences, that as a homeowner who has a loan from the bank, that to me just doesn't make sense, but that's just me. That's just me. You, a homeowner, do what you do, enjoy your house, do what you do, that's ownership. Just make sure you don't stop getting paid, because eventually you'll lose that house anyway. But, hey, who knows what. Now, here's the thing. I'm a mover, and I got to go. I go places. I travel a lot. And so, therefore, an extended period of travel, I can give my 30-day notice, and that stops payment. That just go. I'm good. I'm go. When I come back, in town. I can just go back to the office. They know who I am. Hey, here's the apartment. Here, do your thing. Have fun. But a homeowner can't move that freely. Homeowners, they have to try to sell their house or rent their house because they have to make the money difference. They have to make the difference in money, currency, because the mortgage payment continues on with them in it or not. Okay, here's another thing. Rich people, and I'm not talking about wealthy people. I'm talking about rich people. There's a difference between the two. Wealthy people can go and out of their pocket buy a $4 or $5 million house and buy it. Boom. And just worry about taxes. Rich people, we tend to do a lot of leasing, lease our cars if we like to look good. You know, I'm not that guy. If we like to look good, we'll lease the cars, we'll live in a rental place, a nice house, but it still rents, lease, and so on and so forth. We lease the building that we work in. We do a lot of leasing. We very seldomly do we own anything. A very famous person said once, and please forgive me, I forgot his name. He once said, own nothing, control everything. And that makes sense, right? You own nothing, but you control everything. I'd rather be a controller than the owner, because depression taught us a valuable lesson, and that is when these banks came to the borrowers, the loan, who received the loan and had the debt, they decided to call their loans, because in the fine writings, all loans have a fine writing that says at any time they can call that loan. If you don't have the money, they seize the assets, the property, whatever it is. So there's a lot of reasonings for me personally that banks and loans and debt is good and bad. It just depends on how you will it. But loans by themselves is, banks by themselves, but it's a necessary, it's necessary. Sorry. It's a necessity to utilize them, because that is who we are in today's time. Inflation. The general increase in price and fall in the purchasing value of money. So inflation has to do with the currency or the value of the currency. What that simply means is this: the more currency we have, the more dollars we have, the less valuable the dollar is. So therefore, the price of the dollar goes down. We talk about dollars in reference because in the trading world, the dollar value, it could be between 90 to 80 to 70 cents per dollar, the value of it. So that simply means you who work, receive a check, you got $100 from your check, you need to go to a grocery store one day costs $20, another day it costs $25, another day it costs $30, and another day it goes back to $25. The inflation is what causes that increase or decrease. Oil, it goes up to $4 and it drops down to 3 and 2 and 1, it goes back up to 3 and it goes back up to 4. Is the trading and the inflation of the dollar because of technical stuff that's out there. So just know that when you go to the grocery store, when you go somewhere and you wonder why I just made $100 and last week I just spent $20 on my groceries and now today it's 30. Okay, that's called inflation. All right, guys. Debt ceiling, this is the government side of it. The government borrows money. The upper limit set for the amount of money that government may borrow. The government borrows money because of the ratio, meaning this, how much they borrow from the Fed, and then how much they're expending expenses. and we'll get into that later in different, I just want to pass through this. Credit cards, we all know what a credit card is, and let's go back. Foreclosure, homeowners, some homeowners know what foreclosure is, the process of taking possession of the mortgage property as a result of the mortgager, you, failure to keep up your mortgage payments, because you really just wanted to move, you lost your job, somebody got sick and injured, and so on and so forth. So do you really want to own? Again, that's my personal argument. All right, let's look at growing from poor to middle class to rich. How's that? All right, let's go. We'll get into this. And so this is growing from poor. The first question I always ask in my seminars, in my workshops, in my speakings, and everything and everywhere I go, the first question I always ask is, are you a slave? What is a slave? First of all, a slave is a person who is legal property of another and is forced to obey them. Number two, a person who works very hard without proper compensations or appreciations. I know some of you feel like that. Three, a person who is excessively dependent upon or controlled by something. And I can honestly say that is majority, 90%, that 90 to 10%, that is you right there. Are you a slave? Some of you are number two, slavery years back in the day, number one, but today, persons who excessively depend upon, and a lot of people do depend on the currency or the money, the work that you're working for. You're a slave to it, because if you stop working, the money that you have will determine how long you can survive. And so therefore, you're dependent on it. All right, so let's move on into that. It's a very eye-awakener. And I realized a long time ago that I was a slave too, and that I needed to change that. Now, I have my lifestyle where that I said in the beginning, I don't work for someone, but even in business, you have to be careful. And so let me talk about this for a second. I'm a plumber, not a plumber. I'm just saying, as an example, I'm a plumber. And I decide that, you know what, I don't want to work for Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I just want to do my own because I want to start my own business. And so I start an LLC. Well, I started LLC. I'm the only member, and I work. Okay. Do not be confused with owning a business EIN number, working for somebody else using a social security number, and the process of making money. Currency. Currency by itself, how do you do it? You provide a product or service, and then you receive back the currency. Hopefully, if your product or service is good enough to receive currency, money. But you, me, the plumber, if I go and get hurt, do I have a way to go out and make money? And if the answer is no, if I didn't trust people, if I didn't train people, if I didn't put people in position to continue on without me, then the answer is no. And so regardless of me being a business owner, if I'm an LLC person and I get hurt and nobody's there to take and continue on, I won't make no money. Therefore, I'm still a slave because I'm still dependent on going out, finding clients, making money. So I'm now slave to the money more directly than to the company who gives me the money. Does that make sense? Okay. So please be aware of that process. All right, growing from poor, middle class to rich. Okay, here is the two systems of how we can determine that. Income and expenses, assets and liability. A lot of people know what income is, anything that brings money into the family. Expenses, anything from the family goes out from the family. Assets, anything that puts money in your pocket. Rich Daddy, Poor Daddy book, and I forgot his name. Please forgive me, guys. He basically said that simplest form. Assets is things that put money in your pocket when you don't have to do nothing. Liability is things that you have to bring money out of your pocket regardless. So if you have a car, if you have a mortgage, yes, a mortgage is a liability and not an asset, because the house, the mortgage you have does not make you money. You're still paying money out continuously. And regardless if you paid it off or not, it's still a liability. You still got to pay taxes. Income and expenses. All right, so let's get into this. All right. Income, receive money. Okay, expenses we talked about. Here's the definitions for the four. All right, which we talked about. All right, let's get into the poor side of it right there. Bam. You make money. Okay, everybody makes a little money. It can be from government and so on. You pay your taxes before you receive the money, and then you pay your bills, and then a lot of you have a car note, house stuff. Right here, a lot of people probably won't have a mortgage. Some may have a mortgage, but you still have house stuff. House breaks down, you know, stuff, expenses, clothing, entertainment, and so on. At the end of the month, from your income in expenses, liabilities, at the end of the month, you have no savings. If you're living like this, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what you look like in your clothing. I don't care what you drive. You are poor. Simple as that. Now, what determines the fact that you're poor is simply at every end of the month, you have zero currency. And at the beginning of the month, you're dependent on that income, that money right there. And so what? How you look, how you drive, you're still poor. Let's look at middle class real quick. Middle class, you make a little bit more money. When I was in my clinicals, the doctor once told me the difference between him and I is his toys is a little bit more expensive. And at the time I was learning investing, and I just looked at him and okay, cool. They make income, they pay their taxes. Now, middle class also can be LLCs, business like that. Self-service, you know, doctors who have their own private practice like myself. They have income, they do something, they make money, they pay taxes. The taxes then pays on their bill after taxes, bills. And then they have loans on card, which I don't have, mortgages, which I don't have, a house, mortgage, house. Loans on toys. Toys are motorcycles, loan on motorcycles, loan on snowmobiles, loan on whatever else that they have. They pay all of this and so on. And at the end of the month, they have a little savings. They have a little. So they make a little bit more, they get a little bit more, and they still have a little savings. So let's look at an example of their wealth. For example, they have $1,000 in the bank, and that's their savings. Okay, monthly debt, their expenses, their liability expenses, and so on. Their monthly debt is $100. You divide the two very equally. That is your month of survival if the income stops. Okay. That's the division. That's the simplest way to get this middle class to understand, am I middle class, by taking your savings, divide it in your, let me go back one time, go back, divide that into your expenses and your liabilities. Put all that, calculate all that together. What is your monthly debt? Oh, sorry, I'm pointing at my finger. What is your monthly debt? Take that monthly debt and divide that by your savings, and that's how many months you have to survive if the income stops or divides itself, whatever it looks like. Here's rich people. Here's what we do. And I say we because, like I said, I haven't worked for anybody for a while. And the reason I haven't worked for anyone for a while is because of this. And so let me give you a good idea. One time we took our money. We worked for someone at one particular time. We had to make money. Me personally, I didn't come from a silver spoon lifestyle. I had to earn my money. And so we made money. And from there, we don't pay taxes before our bills. We pay our bills, then we pay taxes. So therefore, we can pay lesser taxes. So how does Romney, how does all of the rich people have a 13% and you, the homeowner, have to pay 30-something, 32, 35% taxes? It's simply how you structure your lifestyle. Remember I said before that rich people understand this one concept off of a comment. For me, it was a comment a long time ago. And he said, don't own anything, control everything. So in context, if I lease my car, if I lease the house that I live in, if I give me a smaller salary, my personal income is even lesser than that. All of those bills is set up at the corporate level, and the corporation pays for the lease. The corporation pays for the house. The corporation pays me a salary to buy my clothes and my expenses of personal stuff. The corporation pays for a lot of necessities, okay? And in doing so, the corporate law states that the income comes in, you can pay your bills, and after you pay your bills, then you pay your taxes, pay your expenses, and then you pay your taxes. And that's how rich people do it. That's how you, if you want to get from one end to the other end, that's how and what you have to do. Now, from the money after taxes, the leftover money, at the corporate level and at the personal level, we buy assets. We spend our money on assets and let the assets make us money. And let me show you what I mean here. We don't, this example here is me. That's not everyone else. Rich man, poor man, he will go to the loan and get a debt real fast. I personally don't. I save my money and then I invest my money. I help other businesses. I get into real estate and I have stocks and bonds. And from there, I make income. It's another form of income. And I take that income, divide it in half. And then from that half, I put it back, one half, I put it back into my income, as you see my mouse swirling around here. And then the other half I use to buy a car, buy my house if I want a house. And at the end of the month, I have zero debt. Now, it's a zero debt on paper, but reality is I have taxes. But for me, my taxes is not there. It's at my expense level. And so my taxes at the end of the year is paid right here. And so all of my assets and liability columns is free currency to maneuver how I see fit into make more money or income. And then eventually I don't need to work because this income in my asset column is enough or just enough to support my lifestyle, and I don't have to spend time working for somebody else. I can spend more time in understanding, learning, and investing my time and energy and currency in other assets within my asset column. So I'm always converting this system here. Now, rich, the word rich, the misconception of rich is you think that a person has to have a lot of money. No, rich by definition is, can you survive without being dependent on someone else? If you can't say, I I can live a life without being dependent on somebody else, some work or work related to help you bring in your income, then so what? Because here's the catch. Here's the catch. And again, I'm sorry for the squeaky chair. I love my chair though. Here's the thing. In the Depression, and I have real estate, for example. In the Depression, when people were losing their house, we ain't got to go to Depression. Let's go back into 2007, 8, and 9. When people and companies was losing left and right, those people lost big because they were poor. Now, again, I'm not saying, let me back up. Let me go back. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. I'm not saying that they were poor. Now, we already know what poor is. They don't have no savings. Middle class have savings. The reason that I say they were poor is because of this right here. They were dependent on the currency. And when the Depression or 2007, 8, and 9 hit, a lot of people got laid off. And because they got laid off, the liability side of their financials within the balance sheet, their loan that they had on the car went into foreclosure. The mortgage of their house went into foreclosure. They lost all their toys because they didn't have enough money in the savings to support those years, the couple of years of the downswing. And a lot of people panicked. And so therefore, what was a $500,000 house, they were selling it for $100,000. Some was even cheaper than that, depending on the area you lived in. And holy cow, us guys who right here, bam, 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 right? Us guys who was right here, we went and just handpicked. Now, rich is defined by the idea that in 2007, 8, and 9, I didn't lose nothing. The value of my house went down, but so what? So does the currency of the dollar goes down and inflation goes up. So what? So budgets and be aware and all of those things come in play. And so therefore, the value of house in my